Parents of Reddit, what was your, oh god, I've raised a monster moment? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I firmly believe my oldest is a sociopath. There's lots and lots of things that make me believe it, but since there's not exactly a black or white test, there's no way to prove it. He has no conscience and hasn't since he was old enough to feel guilt, near as I can tell. He is 30, twice divorced for beating his wives, and totally ignores his daughters whilst giving everything possible to his son. I blamed myself for years, but my younger two are so different than my oldest, I just don't know if it's my fault or not. Not the mom, but the aunt. Sister's oldest girl is a saint, but the little one is a psychopath, and sister and brother-in-law indulge every crazy behavior of hers. One of the worst was last year, when one of my sister's urethra broke and she had to get a tube from her kidney out of her body and to a bag, while said urethra healed. She was pretty ill and was in the hospital for a bit more than a month. Anyway, second night she's back home. Little shit pulls the tube out of my sister's kidney, requiring her to get an emergency surgery. Little shit's excuse? She knew doing that would hurt mommy, but she, my sister, was getting so much attention from daddy since she got home, attention she, little shit, deserves more. The worst part is that my sister and brother-in-law thought that was cute, shaking my head. The crazy part is that my older niece would have never gotten away with something like that, so I don't really get why they spoiled the younger one so much. I know she's my niece, but I just can't see past those behaviors, and like her, she's 6, by the way. When my son decided in the grocery store parking lot that it would be fun to scream, "You're not my mommy, where's my mommy, you're not my real mom," he had this evil smirk on his face as I panicked and tried to explain what could happen if someone heard that. He started yelling it louder. Years ago, my wife and I had a very heated argument. Our daughter overhears us and comes into the room just as things hit their peak. My wife rushes into the bathroom crying. I'm left sitting on the bed feeling low, listening to my wife sob on the other side of the door. Our daughter looks up at me with a smile and says, "Mommy's crying," and proceeds to laugh loud enough for my mom to hear. And with that, I was in trouble for something entirely new. My 5-year-old brother called my mother a fat bitch and got time out. I told him he got what he deserved, and he got this crazed look on his face and told me, "Now you're gonna get what you deserve." Pulled out a pocket knife and started chasing me with it. My parents took him to the cop shop to try and scare him straight. Town of 800 people, so the sheriff was basically always free. The sheriff walked up to my little brother to talk to him, but when he hunched over to get closer, my brother just socked him square in the mouth. He has since outgrown his rage, thank God. My mom found out her lack of parenting with my brother went wrong when he tried to choke me out for accidentally kicking him. I don't even remember being choked, but apparently it was so bad he had to go to anger management and therapy for 3 years. Not the parent, but my mom told me that when she was pregnant with me, my half-brother tried to convince her to swallow a steak knife so that it would cut me up and she would have an abortion. Then, when I was, I think, 7, he turned on the shower, put on a movie for me and my sister, and snuck out while he was supposed to be babysitting to go pick up his girlfriend in my dad's car, which he then wrecked. In his adult years, he's beaten a Jack Russell Terrier puppy to death, and at one point tried to commit suicide by downing a bottle of melatonin. There's more, but I don't think anyone will believe me as it is. My brother-in-law is a monster. He used to be so sweet, but over the last 2 years, he has stolen 4 cars. He's been brought home by the cops 3 to 4 times. Once he stole $100 from my mother-in-law. She called him and asked where it was. He claimed he didn't know. He butt-dialed her right after, and she clearly heard him bragging to his friends that he had stolen the money and that she was so dumb for believing him. The list goes on. These people are the most beautiful, humble people I've ever met. I don't understand how this boy came to be. My dad told me when we were driving once I was in the back and was trying to climb through to the front. He pushed me to the back seat, I was maybe 6 or 7, and apparently said, "When you're all old and weak, I'm gonna chuck you about." When I was a teenager, my friend's little brother had a ton of psychotic tendencies. A couple of examples I remember is him putting their dog in a cooler and suffocating it because it was being annoying. Also, he once ran into my friend's room, handed me a knife, went to the kitchen and sliced his own arm, and proceeded to tell his parents that I cut him. What is even weirder is that even when they saw me holding a knife, they didn't believe him for a second. Well, about 3 years ago, he shot his dad, so I'd say he was or is a monster. Not me, but my parents. My brother was always the naughty one, shoplifting as a kid, mouthing off at school, etc. But I think when they realized he was a genuinely bad person was when he stole a bunch of stuff out of some old guy's cabin and then burned it down so he wouldn't get caught. Spoiler alert, he got caught. Anyways, because he pawned it all at our local pawn shop and they had his name and caught him on camera. Smart. This chilling conversation with my then 4.5-year-old daughter. Mommy, do you love me? Of course, my darling. I love you forever and always, no matter what. Even after I kill, little brother's name. Sweet as pie smile on her face and serious look in her eye. At the time, she had recently learned to tie knots, and I'd already had to take her jump ropes away as I'd found her with one tied around little brother's neck, pretending he was her horsey. I have 2 sons. One is 11 and the other is 7. The 7-year-old is special. Highly intelligent and very social, but also does a lot of deep thinking. Early one Sunday morning, he came up to me out of the blue and said, "Dad, how do ducks work?" I was all, how do what? What? Ducks? Huh? In a half-sleep state. Before I could work out what he wanted to know, he said, "I guess if I open one up, I'll find out," and walked away. Honestly, spent a good hour looking for ducks and watched him carefully when he went near the kitchen utensils. Not a parent, but an older brother of a younger sibling. He poured paint thinner all over my mom's flowers one summer after my dad accidentally left it on the deck. We were repainting the deck. More happy that he didn't drink it, but it was definitely an oh my god moment. She probably spends 100+ hours and a lot of money gardening every spring or summer, so it was a big deal. When I watched my younger son walk out on the porch, pick up a plastic wiffle bat, look at it, look at his older brother sitting on the porch steps, look back at the bat, and then haul back and crack his brother's head like Babe Ruth popping one out of the park. I could watch his thought process in 5 seconds time. Bat, brother, bat, hit, no hesitation. Oh man, too many to list. The most recent is when my son shot me with his Nerf gun directly in my eyeball. My eye still hurts a week later. A couple of weeks ago, my other son pooped on the floor, he's 3, and put a donut on top of it to hide it. Smart. When my son blithely told me he wants to play the documentary Under the Curve for his classmates because he is trying to convince them the world is flat. He admits he knows it is not, but he is trying actively to con them into thinking it is. My 6-year-old daughter told me to shave that thing off, my goatee. Couple days later, I did. I asked her, "Do you like it?" She makes a bit of a face and says, "No, I didn't know your chin was so small." Oh. Okay, this is not my kid, but my mom found out she was raising an asshole when we were out baby clothes shopping with my pregnant aunt, whose first baby had died a few days after birth a year or 2 earlier. And my brother says, "What are you buying it clothes for when you know you don't even know it's going to live?" When my son was 13 or 14, we were chatting about how as kids get older and parents become elderly, often the kids become a caregiver to some degree to the parent. My son offhandedly remarked that he'd be looking for the cheapest nursing home at which to park me. Skinflint. My 3-year-old was given a small Fisher-Price trampoline for his birthday. It's like 3 feet in diameter. A few months later, we got invited to take him to Sky Zone, which is a giant indoor warehouse that is wall-to-wall trampolines. It's effing awesome. So my wife turns to my son and says, "Hey buddy, do you want to go to the trampoline place?" Without missing a beat, my kid rolls his eyes at her, jerks his thumb towards the Fisher-Price one, and says in the most condescending tone a 3-year-old could muster, "I have one." My 6-year-old has always had weird interests. She asked me to show her pictures of what's in our bodies. I showed her diagrams on Google and she said, no, I mean inside of a real body, like a dead person. I showed her some random pictures of an arm surgery and she was begging for more. Also, she always asks me to stop so she can look at dead animals on the road. When my childhood dog died, she tried to sneak and look inside the bag while I was bawling. We're really pushing for the medical field and not a serial killer field. Veterinarian. My husband has a habit of messing with me. As I was stepping into the shower, he threw ice-cold water down my back and I let out a shriek. My 18-month-old comes running in from her bedroom, looks me dead in the eye and screams, "Ah!" in this overly dramatic, whiny voice. Then she did it 3 more times. The little shit ran in from the other room to mock me. While potty training my 2-year-old, she figured out she could pee a little, get a chocolate chip as a reward, then wait 2 minutes, go pee again, and get more chocolate. She's gaming my system at 2 years old. Not me, but a buddy of mine. He is the most criminal-minded dude I've ever met, but I've always just chalked that up to a rough upbringing, growing up eating dry cat food and raw potatoes from a neighborhood garden, negligent alcoholic mother, constantly moving from place to place. This dude always saw all the angles. He would casually identify and point out criminal acts other people were committing in broad daylight that escaped everyone else's notice. He could see malevolent motives in the most banal activities. He sold drugs for years, but would also work his ass off to mask his income behind a plausible veneer of legitimacy. Anyways, he and his girlfriend, another friend of mine, ended up having a set of Irish triplets who were super precocious. I was back home visiting once, and he showed me this video from his home security cameras. It showed these 3 budding ne'er-do-wells aged 2 to 4 coordinating an escape from their bedroom, piling up pillows, and assisting one another over the baby gate. They wandered around silently, peeking around corners before making their way to the kitchen to retrieve a butter knife. They then proceeded to the hall closet where their toys were kept and used the butter knife to pry open the latch and get some toys, which they absconded with back to their room. They played around for about an hour before doing this all in reverse, covering up their tracks. But because his girlfriend was waking her from her nap, they didn't replace the butter knife. My buddy said after he saw the video, he checked under the eldest's bed and found 4 other knives. We had our young cat fixed, and she just slept and rested all day after coming back from the vets. My 11-year-old son asked, very concerned after watching the cat lying around all day, "Do you think she is sad because she can't have babies?" Oh, so sweet. My 7-year-old son asked, "So if she doesn't recover, would we get a cash settlement?" My 5 and 10-year-old were having an epic verbal war in the living room, which ended abruptly after I shouted various generic parenting noises in their directions. My 5-year-old son then walked confidently into the kitchen, took a picture of his brother off the fridge, proceeded to dispose of it in the bin. Utterly arsehole behavior, of course, but honestly, I was secretly extremely impressed with his top passive aggression.